All right. Good morning, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us all here today. Today's Shir should be Le'ilun Nishmas, our dear friend Menachem ben Yisrael Yaakov, as well as my dear aunt Rivka Bas Gavril Tzvi, and for Zaidi, Reb Shmuel ben Yosef Dov HaKohen, and B'schus L'Refuah Shalema Bekarov Meshalom ben Sarachel, Miriam Basara, and Yair Yeshia ben Chaya Tara. And today we have a special Ilun Nishmas. I say special twice because it's for two people. Both of them are my grandparents, Zaidi Stern. Zaidi Stern is still alive. Sorry. Bobby Stern. Blian Hari is 98. Bobby Stern, Miriam Bas Yaakov, and as well as my wife's grandfather, who my oldest son is named after, Shraga Feivel ben Moshe. The Neshamas Vahoban and Aliyah. Thank you. Okay, today we are on page 80 in the Ora Vigdor, for those who are following along. And today we are talking about the fifth condition that a person needs to have this kind of ability in order for you to have full trust in that individual. V'hachamishis, and the fifth condition for trusting another individual is being under his exclusive care. Now, what does this mean? Suppose a person sees a fully licensed physician, right? And this physician is the number one rated physician in this field that you need him for. And when you go to this physician and you start being under this person's care, after a little while, maybe after the initial consult, initial kind of procedures, this physician employs some other doctors out there that he knows about to handle some of the ongoing care for you. Now, understand that these other doctors have some other methods and things of how they do things. And so you are not going to be so comfortable knowing that this top-rated doctor who you traveled all the way from wherever you are, far away, you flew to the city to see this doctor, that now he's handing you over to someone else that he trusts, but you don't know them, you've never heard of them, and you don't trust them. And so understand that this handoff is a problem for you, right? Because you don't know them. The fifth condition is that he should be the only one who takes care of the one who has placed his trust in him is Metchilas Haviyasa, and his exclusive role should take effect from the beginning of the trusting person's existence. What that means is, when you go to the doctor, from beginning to end, you want to see that doctor and that doctor only. He gives an example over here. He says, say there's a doctor that helps give birth to a child, and unfortunately something happens during childbirth, and then they bring in this top-rated doctor later, right? Damage has already been done. Maybe we can mitigate some of that, but damage has already been done. Wouldn't it be better if the doctor that you really want, the doctor that you trust, is here from the get-go, from the beginning? No physician can offer that for you. But we need to understand that Hashem was there for you and is the sole caretaker for you and each one of us from conceiving until the day you die. Every aspect, from when you're a fetus until you are a newborn child, until you're a toddler and you grow up and eventually you go back to Olam Haba, every single aspect of that is taken care of by one doctor, by one power, by Hashem. No handing over to anyone else, anything else. Ugdulasai, and the exclusive role of the trusted caregiver should cover the patient's growth from the very beginning. He says his infancy, his childhood, his youth, his adulthood, and his old age, until the end of his life. And throughout all the stages of your life, Hashem fulfills the condition of being the sole caregiver for each and every one of us. When this becomes clear, when you start understanding, when you realize that that is exactly true, that there's nobody else involved, it is necessarily follows that his mind will be completely calm, and he will rely on him, on Hashem, because up till now, he had so many benefits, and constant support from Hashem. And that is what obligates him to increase his trust in Hashem. Rabbi Avigdor Miller says, your entire life, every single aspect of it, you were taken care of. However old you are today, if you look back on time, every part of it, from when you were a tiny embryo until today, whether it's for the way you grew up, whether it's for having breakfast, and I don't think any one of you ever grew up over here opening a fridge and saying, oh my gosh, I have nothing to eat, I'm starving. Thank Hashem for that. That is Hashem. Hashem made sure of that. Hashem was the caretaker for you, for everyone else, every single day, nobody else. There is no trust in Hashem in one aspect and trust in another aspect. And therefore, he says over here, that if you take all these first 5 conditions, right? That Hashem loves you, He cares about you, He knows what He needs for you, He has the ability to take care of it. But you add this aspect. You add the aspect over here that He's the only one that does that. You start realizing more and more that it's only Hashem that can actually fulfill all these things. No one person on this earth can help you out in everything that you need. And even that one thing that you do need, they're not always available for that. We kept going through these things. And so it's trying to bring a point over here so that you should start realizing and make it stronger in your mind and internalize that it's only Hashem that runs this world and that runs you, that takes care of you and makes sure that you're healthy, that you're happy. But you need to recognize that. You need to start internalizing that more and more every single day. With that, we have a beautiful Dvar Torah this week on Parshas Devarim. In this week's Parsha, it starts off actually, I got this Dvar Torah from Rabbi Yehuda Appel. Starts a little interesting. In a popular film series, a popular film years ago, there was this character that dies and goes into a new dimension. And in that new dimension, he's asked to defend his life down here on earth. Now, according to Jewish tradition, there is no concept of actually defending yourself over here in the afterlife, right? Because once you're there, you're done, and that's why we have Aliyas Neshama and all that fun stuff. Yet, given Hollywood's recent increase in interest in Kabbalah, one wonders if the writers of this film had spent a little time studying the teachings themselves. Because the mystical teachings do say that a person will be shown what he accomplished in life compared to what he could have done had he taken full advantage of earthly existence. In fact, it is the neshama's sense of embarrassment at the realization of what he could have been accomplished that is, according to some sources, and the idea that in Shemayim, some sources say that the idea of hell is that they show you what you could have accomplished had you done what you're supposed to. My chavrusa, Ari Rosenberg, had actually told me this recently, that both tzaddikim and rishonim, when they come up to Shemayim, they're both going to cry. Everyone's going to cry. Why? There's this mountain. There's this obstacle. When we come up to Shemayim as clean people, as tzaddikim, we did well in this world, we did what Hashem wanted, we see this huge mountain. That mountain is the Yetzer Hara. And Hashem shows you, see this mountain, this massive mountain? You overcame this mountain. And you start crying at understanding and seeing that you worked so hard and you accomplished this massive feat. You climbed Everest, right? Mount Kilimanjaro, you conquered that. And then the Russia, they show him a little bump, a little pebble on the road. And they said, you couldn't even get over this little pebble. And so both of us are going to be crying. The tzaddikim and the Rishon are going to be crying, understanding that concept. Now, back to this week's Parsha. And for that matter, the entire Sefer Devarim. What does the word Devarim mean? Devarim means words. The whole Sefer Devarim really focuses on Moshe Rabbeinu, is coming towards the end of his life, and he's giving the Yidden Musar, he's giving them encouragement, he's telling them things, how to behave, how to do things. And from the beginning of Devarim, Moshe Rabbeinu really gives a good pinch to the Yidden. And he tells them, he says, you know what? Do you know that from Chorev to Har Ser Kodesh, you know how long it takes to travel? It takes 11 days. That whole entire trip that the Yidden did in 40 years took 11 days if they did it regularly. But what happened? They trusted the Meraglim. The Meraglim went in and they came back and they painted this picture that, what happened? Hashem told you, you go in, you take care of it. Why were you not trusting in Hashem? And so therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu tells them, He says, you didn't trust in Hashem. You trusted in someone who's flesh and blood, and you wound up taking an 11-day trip, and you got delayed 40 years in the desert. The powerful part that we learn out of this parsha, if you do not put your full trust in Hashem, if you start getting sidetracked by different thought processes, by different people telling you different things, you know where you're going to be? You're going to stay in the desert. You're going to stay in the desert forever until you start trusting Hashem, that Hashem is the one who's going to take you to Eretz Zavas Chalav Udvash, because that's what He wants for you every single day. He just wants that you trust in Him. Believe and trust in the process. I promise you, He has it out for the good for you. He doesn't mean you're ill. And that's what Devarim is talking about. And it's funny because Moshe Rabbeinu, 40 years prior, finds Hashem. Hashem reveals Himself in the burning bush, and He tells Moshe Rabbeinu, go talk to Parah, go talk to the Yidden, we're going to set them free. And what does Moshe Rabbeinu tell him? Moshe Rabbeinu tells Hashem, because I can't. My lips were burnt, I can't speak, people are going to make fun of me, I don't want to do it. And now all of a sudden, 40 years later, Moshe Rabbeinu can't stop. He does 20% of the Torah talks about Moshe Rabbeinu and what he says at the end of his life. Thank you, everyone, for joining us all here today. Have a wonderful, a beautiful Shabbos, and I love you all.